Hey everyone, welcome back. You guys sent in some really interesting articles all about deforestation.
Yeah.
Especially how using trees for construction impacts pretty much everything.
Yeah, it's a huge topic.
So we're going to do a deep dive into all this research.
Okay.
And I got to admit, when I first saw the stack, I was like, this is going to be heavy.
Right.
But then I started reading, and there are some seriously surprising angles in here.
Interesting.
And to help us connect all the dots and see the bigger picture, we've got our expert here.
Happy to be here.
Now, one stat just totally jumped out at me, 80%.
Wow.
80% of Earth's land species live in forests.
That's a lot.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
You realize how interconnected everything is.
Totally. It really highlights what's at stake.
Yeah.
It's not just losing a certain number of trees.
Mm-hmm.
It's messing up entire ecosystems.
Right.
And all the species that depend on them.
Hmm.
And when you disrupt that balance,
Yeah,
well, the ripple effects can go way beyond that one spot.
for sure. And speaking of ripples, these articles kept calling forests Earth's lungs.
Oh, yeah.
And we all know trees absorb CO2.
Right.
But one article said a single mature tree can absorb up to 48 pounds of carbon dioxide
Wow. Per year.
per year. That's a little carbon-fighting superhero right in your backyard.
I like that analogy.
But then when we cut down forests, we're not just losing those superheroes, we're actually releasing all that stored carbon back into the atmosphere, aren't we?
Exactly. Deforestation is a huge contributor to global greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah.
And it's not just the CO2 release. It's also losing those carbon sinks.
Right.
Imagine a bathtub filling with water.
Okay.
That's the CO2 in the atmosphere.
Got it.
Trees are like the drain,
Oh, okay.
helping keep the water level down.
So we remove the drain.
Exactly. The tub fills up way faster, leading to a warmer planet.
So we're kind of turning up the heat on ourselves.
Yeah.
And then there's the human side of all this.
You're right.
Idea of climate-related displacement.
Yes, that's a really important point.
One of the sources talked about how it's not just losing trees,
Mm-hmm.
it's people losing their homes and livelihoods.
Absolutely. Deforestation can completely devastate weather patterns,
Really?
leading to way more droughts,
Oh, wow.
floods, all kinds of extreme events.
Oh.
Think of trees as natural water pumps.
Okay.
They pull water from the soil, release it into the atmosphere,
Right.
helps regulate rainfall.
So when we cut them down,
We mess up that whole balance,
right.
which can lead to desertification,
Oh, wow.
increased flooding in other places,
Yeah.
and it hits agriculture hard,
Oh, of course.
food security, and ultimately whether people can even survive where they live.
It's kind of heartbreaking to think about the human cost of all this.
It really is.
And then there's the issue of water.
Yeah, that's a big one.
This phrase kept coming up, reduced water resources.
Right.
Can you break down how cutting down trees impacts our access to fresh water?
Sure. Trees are essential to the water cycle. They're like giant sponges, absorbing rainwater,
Right.
filtering it,
Right.
and slowly releasing it back into the environment.
So when we take away the trees,
The water runs off too quickly,
oh, I see.
erodes soil,
Yeah.
pollutes waterways.
Wow.
Less water replenishing the groundwater affects us, but also devastates aquatic life.
So trees are like guardians of our water supply,
Great way to put it.
and we just take them for granted.
It's true.
But the cool part is these articles also talk about solutions.
Oh, yeah. What do they say?
Some of them are super surprising, like bamboo building.
Bamboo, really?
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And then there's this M.H.S. structural aluminum.
I've heard of that.
Can you tell us more about these alternatives?
Absolutely. It's great to see the construction industry innovating like this.
Yeah.
And bamboo is definitely getting popular.
Rightly so.
It's strong, grows fast, and it's super versatile.
Cool.
And M.H.S. structural aluminum is a great example of biomimicry.
By women.
They basically engineered aluminum to be like wood structurally.
Wow.
So you can build strong, durable stuff without cutting down trees.
So instead of saying use less wood, we're saying how can we build what we need without using traditional timber at all?
Exactly.
That's a whole new way of thinking.
It really is.
It's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah.
But the articles also point out some of the hurdles to making these alternatives mainstream,
Right. Like what?
adapting supply chains and infrastructure.
Yeah.
So we can have all these cool materials,
Mm,
but how do we actually get them where they need to be?
yeah. And make sure enough people even know how to work with them.
Exactly.
It's true. You can't just swap one material for another and expect everything to work out.
Right.
You got to think about the whole system.
Okay.
Sourcing, production, transportation,
Mhm.
how we build, even the building codes. Like with bamboo, It grows like crazy in tons of places.
Yeah.
But to use it effectively, we need a whole different set of skills and infrastructure compared to like using regular timber.
It's like we need a total system makeover, not just a material swap.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then there's the money side of things, too.
Right.
One article mentioned this just transition.
Oh, yeah.
For workers in industries that might be impacted by these changes.
Like loggers and stuff.
Exactly. Can you explain that a bit more?
Sure. So if we move away from using traditional timber, we got to make sure the folks whose jobs depend on that aren't left behind.
Right.
So maybe retraining those workers,
Yeah.
helping new industries grow in those areas,
Yes.
and making sure everyone's paid fairly and has job security during that whole transition.
So it's about creating a future that's not just environmentally sustainable, but also fair to everyone.
Exactly.
Socially and economically sustainable, too.
Yes.
Now, a bunch of the sources talked about government policies and public awareness campaigns as ways to really push this transition forward. What kind of policies do you think would be most effective in promoting sustainable construction?
Well, first off, we got to tackle illegal logging.
Yeah.
It's still a huge problem.
Really?
Oh, yeah, in lots of places.
Wow.
Stricter rules and enforcement are super important.
Okay.
And then policies that actually encourage using sustainable materials.
Okay, like what?
Tax breaks for builders who use certified sustainable wood,
Right.
or subsidies for companies developing those cool alternatives we talked about,
Yeah.
like bamboo and M.H.S. structural aluminum.
Okay. So a little reward and a little punishment.
Exactly. Nudge the industry in the right direction.
But it sounds like it's not just about the government telling people what to do.
No way.
Consumer demand plays a huge part, too.
Absolutely. People need to know what's going on.
Right.
The more consumers understand how their choices matter,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the connection between the wood they choose for their floor and a rainforest on the other side of the world,
Wow.
the more likely they are to demand sustainable options.
It's about giving people the information to make good choices.
Exactly.
You know, one thing that really struck me in all these articles
What's that?
was just how connected everything is.
It really is.
Deforestation isn't just an environmental issue. It
Not-
ties into climate change,
Yeah,
social justice, the economy, even our own health.
you're totally right. It's all connected.
It is.
It's realizing that our actions have these ripple effects
Yeah.
and that choices we might think are small actually have global consequences.
Wow.
We got to start thinking more big picture about our impact.
Right.
Not just what's cheap and easy now,
Yeah.
but what's sustainable and good for future generations.
That's a lot to think about.
It is.
But it's also pretty empowering.
Yeah, how so?
It means even little changes we make can make a difference.
That's true.
One source put it as a moral question.
Interesting.
Like, what responsibility do we have for the choices we make?
That's a deep one.
It is. What kind of world do we want to create?
It's up to us.
Yeah, I know what kind of future I want.
Me too.
And these articles give me hope that it's possible.
Yeah.
We have the knowledge, the technology,
Mm.
and more people are aware of the problem.
It's
Just a matter of using all that and making it happen.
I agree. And one of the most exciting things I see is this idea of a circular economy.
Oh, yeah. That was a fascinating concept.
Some of the sources talked about it.
They did. Can you explain what a circular economy is
Sure.
and how it relates to all this construction and deforestation stuff? So a circular economy,
Yeah.
is that like recycling but bigger?
Kind of. It's definitely related,
Okay.
but it's more than just dealing with trash.
Okay.
A circular economy means designing things,
hmm
products, systems right from the start
Yeah,
with the end in mind,
I see.
minimizing waste, keeping resources in use as long as possible.
So like with a building,
Exactly.
instead of tearing it down and dumping it all in the landfill,
Right.
we could take it apart and reuse the pieces.
Exactly. Like a giant Lego set.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned designing buildings for disassembly.
Yeah.
What would that look like?
Well, you'd want to use materials and techniques that make it easy to take apart and reuse.
Okay.
So like modular components, connections that can be easily undone,
Right.
and materials that can be recycled or biodegraded.
So instead of being trash,
Yeah.
building materials become resources for the next project.
Exactly.
So we're going from this linear take, make, waste
Right.
to a closed loop
Yeah.
where stuff is constantly flowing and being regenerated.
I like that, flowing and regenerating.
And using recycled materials, we see reclaimed wood and recycled steel.
Yeah.
But could we really get to a point where almost everything in a building is recycled or repurposed?
I think so. There's huge potential there.
Yeah.
We're already seeing cool innovations.
Like what?
Engineered wood from recycled fibers,
Okay.
concrete alternatives from recycled glass, industrial byproducts.
Wow.
And as tech gets better and demand grows, we'll see even more creative and affordable solutions.
It's like a whole new industrial revolution.
It kind of is.
Not about taking and using,
Right.
but about regeneration and resilience.
Right.
And it's not just buildings.
No way.
Yeah.
This circular economy thinking can apply to almost anything.
Like what else?
Food, fashion,
Okay.
electronics, transportation.
Wow.
It's changing how we think.
Yeah.
From seeing waste as a problem
Ew.
to an opportunity, a resource we can use to create new things.
That's a big shift.
It is. From disposable to resourceful.
I like that. And this is where individual consumers come in again.
Definitely.
What can we do to support this circular economy thing?
Tons. First, learn about it.
Okay.
Research sustainable building materials. Find companies doing this circular economy stuff.
Right.
Ask questions about where the products come from.
So do your research before you build anything.
Yeah.
Any other advice for someone who wants to build or renovate sustainably?
Focus on things that last.
Okay.
Choose durable materials. Designs that can be adapted or upgraded later.
Right.
That way you renovate less.
Less waste.
Exactly. And use recycled or repurposed materials whenever you can.
Okay.
You'd be surprised what's out there.
So it's about making good choices at every step.
Yeah. Being mindful.
And it seems like there's so much innovation happening in this area.
There really is.
Anything you're particularly excited about?
I think 3D printing in construction is going to be huge.
Oh, yeah.
You can build complex stuff sustainably with way less waste.
That's cool. And what about new materials?
Bio-based stuff is really interesting.
Okay.
Like mycelium composites, they're grown from fungi.
You're kidding. Building with mushrooms.
They're super strong and versatile.
It's amazing. It really feels like we're entering a whole new world of construction.
It does, doesn't it?
More sustainable, more resilient, more connected to nature.
And it all goes back to what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Our connection to the environment, the impact of our choices, and the power we have to make a difference. That's the main thing I hope people take away from this.
Yeah.
We're not just watching this happen.
Right.
We're all part of creating the future.
I love that. And it can be a future where we use our creativity and respect nature.
Exactly. A world that thrives for generations to come.
I couldn't have said it better myself. So to wrap things up, we'll leave you with one final thought.
Okay, hit me.
What kind of world do you want to build?
Good one.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive into the world of sustainable construction.